This is the Future Talk, Partnerships for Inclusive AI. 1 year of Hamburg AI Declaration Impact. Please welcome to the stage Liz Scho from Deutsche Welle.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm already on stage. In fact, my whole panel is already on stage because we said we're gonna save time that way. But it turns out we then needed to figure out, okay, who's gonna stand where, and I don't know how efficient that was. We are here to celebrate a milestone. Last year, at the Hamburg Sustainability Conference, we launched one of the flagship initiatives of this HSC, and that is the Hamburg Declaration on Responsible AI. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, aren't we here to talk about sustainable development goals? Why are we prioritizing AI? Shouldn't we be thinking about how do we get electricity to people and water and a good education for children? But we need to realize that AI is something that can bring the world closer together and reduce inequalities, or if we use this tool in the wrong way, it can actually increase inequalities. And I don't know how many of you were following the opening ceremony yesterday. When President Steinmeier left the hall together with almost everybody else, the ones of us who remained were able to listen to a presentation that was delivered by the chief economist from UNDP. And he talked about a survey they have conducted. And I just want to tell you about two questions that really stood out for me because they will set the scene for what we're going to discuss. So the people participating in the survey were asked, what poses the greatest risk to sustainable development in the next 12 months? And here's what they said. So the top answers to that question, what poses the greatest risk, was cost of living, geopolitical conflicts, and then came climate impacts and AI adoption, which I found incredible. But then they said, okay, let's talk about how we can then, as a global community, cooperate even further and deal with those challenges. They were asked, where should international cooperation for development focus most over the next decade? And these are the top three answers: conflict prevention, global public goods, like health and climate. And then number three was technology and AI adoption. And in fact, there are some countries like India and China where they said this is the number one priority. This is where countries need to work more closely together, also, of course, including the private sector. So today we're here to take stock, to see what has this declaration actually achieved, and to talk about the challenges. And then we look ahead and see, can we get even more endorsers, and what is the next way forward? We will now show you a QR code because if you scan it, you will find a brochure that tells you about some of the endorsers and the impact they have been able to achieve, what they have said they will do in terms of working for this declaration. It's just some snapshots, some case studies that will give you an impression of what the Hamburg AI Declaration is all about. But we're here to discuss now, and I'm happy to introduce you to my fantastic panelists. We have right next to me Dr. Bärbel Kofler. She is the Parliamentary State Secretary at the German Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development. A warm welcome to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Lacina Koné is on the stage. He is the Director General and the CEO of Smart Africa. Welcome, sir. Also on the stage today is Ivana Živković. She is UN Assistant Secretary General and UNDP Director of the Regional Bureau for Europe and the Commonwealth of Independent States. Welcome to you as well. Completing this panel is Gupta. He is Global Head of Sustainability Practice at Tata Consultancy Services, one of the most valuable IT firms in the world. Welcome, sir. Bärbel Kofler, I want to start with you. 1 year after the AI declaration that was signed here in Hamburg, where do we stand globally in terms of access to AI?
Well, first of all, I would like to say I'm very happy to be here and talk again about AI. That's not a repetition about what we did last year. It's the follow-up. We were all agreeing at the Hamburg Sustainability Conference. We are not only talking, but we are going into commitments, and then we are delivering step by step, all of us. And I'm sure in the second round we have some concrete examples how we did that. Well, overall, it's a very, very promising technology on the one hand, and I think we should acknowledge that. I remember what Dr. Ngozi was saying just at the opening panel of today. We should not only go into a lamento, but really see how we can use the possibilities for a better future. So AI is there. It's not going away. It doesn't matter what we are talking about. But there are also, it's coming with challenges, and we have to overcome those challenges or work with those challenges. First challenge is, of course, the tremendous need on energy, which is especially, it is a challenge for us, but it is also a challenge especially for partner countries. If you look on the issue on climate change, if you look on the need on energy for housing, for example, or the access to energy, we see that this computing and the energy we need for computing is a tremendous challenge where we have to work on in supplying the needs with energy. Then we have the computing capacities and the data centers, because what is striking is that low-income countries only host 0.1% of the global data center capacity. That is also a striking momentum where we have to work on. That's not a fair distribution, and at the end of the day, it leads also to, do I have access to something or don't I have access, or I'm depending on having access to somebody else. So that is a challenging momentum. And the third challenging momentum is the issue, what data is inside? Or how is AI trained? With which data? In which language, with which cultural knowledge and background. And that's, I think, why we are working together, and we will talk about it surely later on. We're working very closely with Smart Africa and also with our Indian partners and friends, especially also with Tata, in really bringing all the different languages existing in the AI system. Because what we also see is, one thing is, we just discussed about Global North and Global South. In the Global North, twice as many people have access to AI than in the Global South. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, in which language do you have the access? Does a farmer in India have access to AI in its own language if they need information for the next harvest, for example, or for selling their products? Do they have the access in their own language or not? And AI can be a tool which is solving the issue, or it could hinder people from having access. And we are working for open source, which is at the end of the day offering a possibility for everybody.
Thank you very much. Okay, so before we talk about the farmers in India, and I don't know if you're an expert on that, but I want to start with you, Lacina, because we want to look at the African continent. We know that it is a continent that is very young and has been very quick to adapt new technologies. So where do we stand in terms of progress when it comes to AI?
Thank you very much for inviting Smart Africa to this. You have to know every major technological revolution has had its rule written without Africa. The printing press, the industrial revolutions, the internet, Africa arrived late, adopted what others built, and integrated on terms that were not our own. AI is different. For the first time, we have a real chance to shape the game from the beginning. And this is not a rhetoric. That's actually what we're doing. A year ago, the question in rooms like this was whether Africa could afford to participate in AI. That question is gone. Today, governments across our continents are not simply drafting AI policy, they are implementing sovereign AI strategies built on their own priority, their own data reality, and their own value.
But can you give examples of where that is happening? Because if Ms. Kofler says that we only have 0.1% of the global data centers built on the African continent, and if we talk about the issue of languages, in the low-income countries, in the low-income countries, many are in Africa. And if we also talk about the issue of languages, for example, with the thousands of languages that exist in Africa, we still don't have large language models, or we don't have training for that kind of data.
This is a very interesting question. Only 2% of African data lies on AI data centers today. I don't see this as a disadvantage. I see this as a leverage. It means we craft our policies now before we get there. Look at the situation of geopolitics today. Imagine all our data were actually controlled by foreign jurisdictions. What Kofler was saying, we have over 2,000 languages. Today in Africa, it is not a rhetoric. We have a mini AI, for example, which is actually providing satellite data and the soil informations as a data set. We have Lelapa in the language models in South Africa. The issue is a data set. How do we promote, how we encourage our communities to build 2,000 languages as a data set? Because at the end of the day, AI is about the bias. And that progress a year ago from now, it is happening. It is happening. These are our innovators.
So you are seeing progress on the ground.
Absolutely. There are more than
bring-
2,400 SMEs on Africa working in the AI solutions. Yes.
All right. So that is an area where there's also investment that we're seeing happening, because yesterday we were talking about the level of investment being low. But I want to bring in Ivana now into the conversation, because, of course, we're talking about what impact does AI then have on SDGs. Where have you seen real concrete examples of where people have used AI to advance SDGs?
Thank you very much. And it is great to be here 1 year after the Hamburg Declaration. And what we really praise is this is not a document in itself, but rather this is a community, also a shared vision and action that it has enabled. It's quite a good starting point. I would not say we're there yet, and also hearing how much progress we still need to do, but it is good to see that the endorsers and UNDP, BMZ, and many coalition partners are using its principles to guide this real-world implementation. And on our side, we can say that 256,000 people trained in AI skills in the last year, while 270,000 children reached through AI-enabled immunization efforts, and open AI models were supporting 61 African languages.
Can you tell us what AI immunization means?
It's the scoping of the needs for immunization and supporting the public health services. So these also reinforce a broader lesson from the first year, and this is that responsible AI delivers when it is grounded in local needs and supported by strong partnerships, as well as accompanied by investment in people, institutions, and ecosystems. This implementation shot, a snapshot that we're going to see today, captures many more of these stories. I also would like to bring to your attention that AI is moving from technology conversation to an implementation challenge. We have this AI Sprint initiative within UNDP, and we have been active in 40 countries on ranging from AI governance, but also supporting local language ecosystems and public sector innovation. Also, we see that countries are beginning to shape their own AI futures, and we have many examples of that in Zimbabwe, Ghana, in Nepal, Ecuador, for example, where we work on AI regulatory sandbox, which is helping governments create safe environments for innovation while maintaining public trust. One very important element where AI is delivering tangible results is the benefit to crisis and fragile settings. UNDP has developed this rapid post-disaster impact assessment, which is AI using satellite imagery and also geospatial analysis. For example, we used it in Venezuela after earthquakes, and this is where you get results in hours rather than If you take a full analysis, it takes weeks or even months. So the biggest lesson is that this is not primarily about algorithms and technology in itself. Rather, it is people-centered and also institutions and agency. So for that, we're very grateful to have a strong support of all coalition partners and are ready to take it even further in the next year.
Yes, and hoping for more endorsers, of course. Thank you very much, Ivana Živković. And now I want to hear from you, Kiran, because you run a business. And you're one of the endorsers of the AI Declaration. What does it help in delivering SDGs, but also what does it do for your bottom line?
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. AI, a lot of doubts in people's mind. Am I required? With every technology revolution, I think these doubts come into mind. People also talk about responsible AI. Look at this panel here. 3 continents, international, business, social, all of them together. What a beautiful platform to have a discussion on AI. When you look at how AI is helping, both on the business and also on the SDGs, certainly from a productivity benefit point of view, there's tremendous benefit. We already see in the business, especially when you take any manual task, any repetitive task, it's given. If not today, it's tomorrow, maybe it's day after tomorrow, but it's given. But how do we conduct our business? How do we make sure the AI we use doesn't work against the whole principles? That's where you got to be careful with fair, transparent, accountable, safe, and data privacy. 2 examples I can give you how it is helping us. One is a European public health administrator. It takes 10, 12, 8 minutes to register patients and then look at what's the need. But before coming to the hospitals, using the conversational, you already pick up all the data, and without any bias, the algorithm can select and sequence the most needed. The bias is there in the human mind. You cannot take it away. Perceptions and what we see, what we hear, bias the mind. But the beauty of AI is it can't.
I am sure that there are some people who will argue that AI also includes some biases, but thank you for giving us that example. We understand how it is practically being deployed. Bärbel, Kofler, I want to turn to you now because I know you also have the overview because your ministry was heavily involved in launching this declaration. What are the achievements, the concrete results that came after the commitments?
One sentence to the bias. I'm totally agreeing. If it's not trained biased, then AI is maybe not so biased like every human being. But the training and the data set is so important. And that's why we are so much behind having a broad range of human cultural backgrounds, experiences, and languages included in the data set. Because if it's all only English or German, it's biased. Because it's our view on the world. Yeah. So I think we have to have that, but otherwise I would agree to what you were saying.
AI won't send you away until you don't get an appointment with the doctor because I don't like you.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Something which might be really nice by AI, yeah. But you have to train it like that. Because otherwise, if they read my name and say, oh, Bärbel, I don't accept those who are named Bärbel. So, we have to think about it.
Yes.
But AI can do a lot also in development cooperation. If I look to the health sector, in remote areas, if you have a conversation with AI, it helps a lot in deciding, do I really need to take the long way to the doctor? Or is there some information already before available and some cure available, which let me not to undertake this long journey, maybe in the next village to see a doctor, something like that. So there are a lot of things which can be done with AI. What we did in the last year, well, we're all here, all 60 signers or endorsers of the Responsible AI Declaration with commitments. And that's what I think is really the charming thing of Hamburg here, is we're going with commitments. So BMZ had their commitments. It's not solving all the issues. One commitment was increasing the capacity in training people to use AI. Because I think that is very important. The colleague from UNDP was talking about it already.
I see a lot of agreement here.
So
on the panel.
we did our share. Just to give you a few data, I know it's always challenging with numbers. So we trained more than 256,000 professionals in Africa and in Asia with AI skills. So that's through and of course with partners through our engagement. An example for the regional East African community, it was interesting to work with almost 4,000 students in more than 110 universities. I think that is quite a figure because they can train others by now. And we were working with more than 30 companies. That's underlying what Mr. Koné is saying, that there are many continents on the African continent who are really involved in that technology. So we were there for really helping to bridge the gap which is still existing in between those who have access and can use it and those who can't. And my Indian example really is we're very proud that we could work together with India on open source AI, which we were presenting at the AI Summit in Delhi, and that we are part of this journey in translating languages, English into local languages and back and forth. The program called Bashini, which really at the end of the day makes a difference for those who don't speak English, for example. And we have to take that into consideration. It's not the mother tongue of most of the people around the world. Still something very important. So those two commitments are just examples for us where we really fulfilled our commitments. And last sentence, we were 60 companies, countries, institutions who were signing last year. Well, the list for endorsing is open. So if somebody is here in the room who didn't sign until now, please do so.
Wonderful. That is an invitation, and I will give a chance to you towards the end of the session. Bärbel Kofler, you mentioned the youth, and now I want to bring in a young voice to this conversation, an HSC ambassador, youth ambassador from Tanzania, Jacquiline Msambila. Welcome, Jacquiline. So you are an expert on digitalization, digital transformation. You advise the EU delegation in Tanzania. You're also the founder of Africa Digital Transformation Network, and you work at the intersection of digital transformation and development in Africa. We now want to see how we can make the most of this Hamburg Declaration so we don't end up with only these 60 endorsers, but that we get even more and that it has a real impact on the ground. So what are the things that the leaders should prioritize in the next year?
Thank you so much. First of all, I'm really happy to be here. I was here last year, and this is one of the things that I was looking forward to. What have we achieved after the declaration? So I'm glad with your commitment. Congratulations. As introduced, I'm from Tanzania, East Africa. I'm really glad that you spoke about the programs that you're doing with the students. I'm going to look into it more. But the three things that I would like the leaders to prioritize mostly was mentioned by the minister, that invest in people rather than platform foremost. So AI training skills. I did several trainings like digital literacy for rural teenage mothers. So I saw firsthand how a person can be transformed who don't even know how to use a computer. So AI literacy trainings, they should be prioritized. The second thing I would say is to invest in local talent or local innovators. From Tanzania, there are several women innovator in AI, such as Saratani AI, which means cancer AI. They developed this solution for women, by women, which can detect the early cervical cancer. diagnosis. So invest in local talents like that, local innovators, youth-led. But also the last thing that I would recommend is more partnership. Because if we work in silos, we won't achieve what we really want since we're all working toward the same goal. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline. So, invest in people, not in platforms. Use the local talent, and let's deepen those partnerships. Let's get out of our silos. Ivana, Živković, are those also the priorities of UNDP?
Very similar. I think one thing we agree on, capacity building for sure. We also see it through the requests from the governments, but through the requests on the ground as well. And we have many examples where AI and the digital technology overall has changed the lives of people with not such a great investment. Secondly, it is about expanding agency for developing countries within the global AI ecosystem. And having this capacity, not really access for the access, but rather to create the whole ecosystem. Neither of these two priorities would be possible without partnerships. And I think this is the event today shows that when we come together, we can do much more. So combining resources, expertise, and perspectives will be also very helpful in the time ahead. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Lacina, Koné, I want you to jump on that because partnerships have been mentioned multiple times. And we, of course, want people to not only be participants and use AI on their phones, but really also benefit from the AI economy. What are the partnerships and the investments that are missing on the African continent for us to be able to achieve that?
Thanks for the questions. In fact, it's not about needing more funding. It's about structural, it's a different kind of shit. It means structural architecture for the AI, which is very different. We had many investments initiative in Africa before, 60 years ago. It did not bring exactly the product that we want. The generation that my sister was actually saying is in Africa, these are the new generation. I call them Generation Alpha. They don't browse, they prompt. So what do we do for them? That is the question. So the gap that we need right now is really, the minister talked about it, about computing power on the soils of Africa. Second thing, blended financing. I say this deliberately because the government alone cannot do it. The private sector alone cannot do it. International development partners alone cannot do it. We need this kind of partnership in the government, creating a conducive environment for investment and private sectors to scale, and the international development partners to actually chip in as a first loss. Because if we don't do it deliberately, if you want to take an AI like any other building, road, and hospital and so on and so forth, it's not going to work. The third thing is, we have financial instrument for energy, for road, for environmental. We don't have anything like that for AI. We need to have that in place to be able, particularly those in Africa, it has to be focused on skilling, reskilling, and upskilling, because Africa, by 2030, the youth generation will represent 42% of the planet. And this is a really very, very important, as we have today 60% of our population below 25 years old. These are the kind of partnership we're looking for. Blended financing, also we need to have an instrument for AI, because grant alone cannot do it. Donation alone cannot do it, so it has to be deliberate.
It has to be deliberate. Blended financing is what you're talking about, and we need to look at the structures that we have in place and see where we need to change those. I wonder where we bring in the big tech platforms. Are we already working with them? Do we leave them out and create our own infrastructure? Maybe, Lacina, if you can respond to that quickly, and then I'll bring in you, Kiran. Kiran, you wanted to say something first. Okay.
The big tech, they are important. But you see, when you want to talk about the big tech, it's not, then people talk about sovereignty. It is not binary, 1 or 0. It's actually both. Sovereignty through a proper cooperations.
What would a proper cooperation look like?
It means, what's our agenda? Every single private sector in the world have their own agenda. What is our agenda? The agenda comes in is during the negotiations. For example, I was talking to someone just before I walked in today. When we talk about energy in Africa, it's about electrification of our rural area. But they forget that Africa generates 3,000 hours annually. If you convert that into energy, it's the 1,500 gigawatt. Why the big frontier model are not building smart grid in Africa in this case for AI? It's a choice. That is our agenda. I hope I answer your questions.
You've answered it, but you've also left me with some questions. Let me just bring in Kiran first, and then because we still have a few minutes, you were very disciplined with the time. Kiran, go ahead.
See, it is undeniable that today, the high tech, the hyperscalers, all the big tech, they're ahead of the game. You got to be dependent today. But at the same time, can we start building in each country, at each enterprise? People talked about diversification, risk resilience, all of it. So can you stand up on your own feet? It takes time. But unless you do it, it won't happen. So, but today...
But what can it look like concretely? Because...
The sovereign cloud people talk about, what does it mean? Means you need to take control. You need to have hold on your own data, on your own stack that you own end to end. And you are the boss. And you take a call whether it is available or not. I think that's the final, end goal if you talk about.
Is that possible, though? I really wonder because, I'm a journalist, and we journalists also are struggling with the question of, what data belongs to whom? Do we work together with Microsoft or OpenAI, or what do we do? Or do we say we protect ourselves and protect what we own, and then we're not part of the game?
So this is where I think the foundation need to be set right. Responsible AI cannot be a byproduct. It has to be inclusive. What do you mean by inclusive? When you talk about inclusion, this is about how you think about misuse. Is it safe? Can you build it in a way that you're accountable? It's transparent. The algorithm that runs, can you trace it back? Do you know what it is doing? I think that needs to come into the design principles.
Yeah, Bärbel, Kofler, I see you're starting here a private conversation with Lacina. No, but do you want to add to that? Because just a challenge to all of you panelists, does anybody have Sam Altman's number? Like, are you going to call him and tell him, you know what, we think that this AI is biased and the information that you're giving us and you have so much power? Who is doing that?
Well, I was just joking. If I would be a trillionaire, I could invest in things like that.
The ministry doesn't pay enough.
Not so good, no. No, fine. No, fine. No, but at the end of the day, it is like it is. It's cooperation in between all of us, and that's not the easy task. That's not the easy thing. We really have to cooperate and have to organize this cooperation. That's why I'm the third time mentioning our open source project, because you were talking also on transparency on algorithms, for example, which is quite important also if it's coming to tracing back why a certain kind of information is then at the end the result of an AI. So that's something which is very necessary, but that's only possible through cooperation. Mm-hmm. And it's a challenge for all of us who are not the owner of one of the big tech companies. Yeah. It's a challenge for countries, and at the end of the day, it's a question on democracy, because what we see nowadays is, where is our data coming from? Where are people informing themselves? And if you don't have clarity on the algorithms, what information do you get and why do you get that information? That has an impact on how people decide in elections and how people decide in which direction a country should go. It has an impact on democracy as a whole. And frankly saying, I don't want to see all our democracies in the hand of a few tech milliardaires. I want to see that in the hand of the people. And that's why we as governments, private sector scientists have to work together.
All right, Kiran, I'm going to give you the mic for another minute. And then Ivana Živković, I'll ask you to make the pitch for other endorsers.
Now, I think we keep talking about cooperation between public and private. While cooperation is good, at the same time, we need to have the governance and framework. To keep it simply, imagine you cross the border where the signal red means go, green means stop. What's going to happen? The same is applicable in AI or any technology. What is the single governance and standard that you could bring? Today, you use a keyword search. It takes, let's say, 1 ml of water. Using AI, it could be 10, 15, 20, 25 times. So what is the standard you're going to put that every time you use AI, the computing, the algorithm can only take so much of water, so much of energy. So that standard, if you put public-private partnership in building the infrastructure and making it available, all these things around AI, it's going to compute a lot of energy, it needs a lot of water, it won't be there. So can we build that common governance and framework? We signed the memorandum. It is about execution. So can we bring it into execution? That's my submission.
Wonderful. Yes. You look like you wanna, like you still have some thoughts that you wanna share with us.
Yeah, he's exactly right. It's the choice is ours. Either we want to make the AI the next generational technology which looks at the humanity, or we want to treat it as a uranium in the hands of just few countries. It's a choice for us to make. That's what I wanted to add. And also, one thing I want to add, not everything is about Gen AI. No.
Yes.
No. A country can optimize its critical infrastructure using AI. It does not need a computing power from Delaware. They want to optimize the platform for agriculture. It does not need a computing power from Ireland. That's the way. So don't make people make you believe that to make a cup of tea, you need to boil an ocean. You do not need that. So we need to be thinking about it carefully. Not everything about Gen AI. The traditional way we've been thinking for SDG, fighting for SDG, the advocating for SDG for the past 15 years, AI for us is an evolution. It is not a revolution. It's an evolution as is driving the whole connectivity, data governance going forward. But we don't have to forget that it has to be responsibly done, as you said.
It has to be responsibly done. And if there's anybody in the room who wants to join the initiative and say, okay, I'm going this journey with you, then you're warmly welcome. Ivana, I'm going to give you the final word just to let people know what is it that they can do if they say they become an endorser. What could it look like? Because some may say, okay, I don't have the connections to big tech, or I work for, civil society. So maybe that is not my area per se, but everybody can join as far as I understand.
Well,
No.
So based on the progress that we have made in the last year and lessons learned, I think we need to look at partnerships beyond supporting implementation, but rather as an implementing model. And now we jointly need to see how we can scale up. It's the time where, this AI becomes a genuine kind of accelerator for sustainable development. And I think we have made good first steps. How an individual can do it on an individual level, I don't have that answer. But I can tell you that UNDP stands ready in the 170 countries where we work. And I already shared, we support more than half of them on some work on AI. We're ready to scale up. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, my wonderful panel. We are ready to scale up, and we're looking for more endorsers for the Hamburg Declaration on Responsible AI. That was a fantastic discussion. Thank you so much. I allow you to now go back to your seats because I want to once again show the QR code, please, if we may. Everybody who didn't get a chance to scan it now. If you want to find out what the endorsers have already done in their capacity to be part of the declaration. You've heard they are looking for more endorsers, and they are welcome. And in fact, before this session, before the conference, 2 people went up to UNDP and the ministry representatives and said, hey, we want to join. So I want to call them on stage now. First of all, we have Noel Lorenz, who's the CEO and founder of Mindverse. A warm welcome to you. Welcome. And I also want to call to this stage Ricarda Marie Pompa from Willow Group, together with the CTO as well, Just come here. Georg Weber. Georg Weber, are you in the room? CTO? CTO is not here. Okay, so we have 2 new endorsers. Please just move to that side and briefly tell us, why did you decide to join?
Sure. So when I first encountered the technology behind Gen AI and the generative pre-trained transformer 6 years ago, I immediately thought, okay, this is an amazing technology, but it can bring a lot of disadvantages also to equality. So the Hamburg Declaration was exactly what I was thinking, that this technology should be equally given to everyone and not just a few privileged people. So we're really happy to endorse this now. As mentioned, I'm Noel, the founder of Mindverse. We're from Berlin. We built enterprise Gen AI applications, agents, workflows. We've done already a lot of things like provide schools with access to AI tools, but we want to do more. Specifically, one big thing is building sovereign AI, as mentioned already on the panel, going away from the hyperscalers, using open source models, hosting them ourselves, fine-tuning them maybe for specific applications. Number 2, it was also mentioned, is implementation. We have a huge implementation gap right now. The technology is very far, but it's not being implemented yet. And so we want to offer education. We want to help non-privileged people to get access to that technology. And of course, the third thing is bias and human in the loop. We build a human-centered technology, meaning that users always have the final decision. We log the traces. We see, how did the AI come to this conclusion? How did it decide this way or the other way? So yeah, we're really happy to be part of this declaration and looking forward to bringing positive change.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Noel Lorenz from Mindverse. I want to come to you now, Ricarda Marie. Tell us about your company and why you've decided to become one of the endorsers.
Yeah, thank you. For more than 150 years, Wilo has been driving innovation in water technology. We develop water technology along the entire AI value chain. We integrate AI into our products and services. And of course, we use AI throughout the company. But now we have taken the next step. With our Wilo Water AI Academy, we connect partners all around the world. And we promote innovation, education, and of course, collaboration in the fields of water and artificial intelligence. Here we do have a positive impact by showing how to use new technology in a more sustainable and of course, ethical way. So we are happy to be part of this initiative and look forward to expanding this impact together. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. A round of applause for Ricarda Marie as well. All right, I'm now going to ask you to move to the center because our photographers, of course, wants to capture that for the BMZ and UNDP files. If we can have our photographers, please, to take a photo of the new endorsers. Another round of applause, please, for the 2 of them and the companies they represent. Thank you for joining the declaration in that journey, and we're looking forward to maybe also showcasing what you have achieved next year, if there's going to be a similar session at the Hamburg Sustainability Conference. And that was it. That was the session. You are now up to date on what the declaration has achieved, what the steps forward are. If you want to get into a conversation with Bärbel, Kofler, and with the other endorsers, of course, you have the opportunity to do so. Thank you so much for your attention and enjoy the rest of the day.